This video is a demonstration video and I'm not going into the details of the AI's data structure. I'm simply showing people the output of the robot's brain, which are intelligent thoughts to think and act. Main function of the robot's brain. Basically, this is how my AI program works. The robot selects optimal pathways from memory to take intelligence action. After a period of time, a computer program is created in the robot's mind that controls primarily four containers: the task container, rules container, planning container, and identity container. The computer program inside the robot's mind serves as an operating system to control what tasks to do, what rules to follow, and make decisions based on personal preferences. If the robot made a decision to fly an airplane, a computer program will be created in the robot's conscious to fly a plane. If the robot made a decision to play a video game, a computer program will be created in the robot's conscious to play a video game. If the robot made a decision to make a sandwich, a computer program will be created in the robot's conscious to make a sandwich. And so on. The output of the human brain are conscious thoughts to think and act. Most of these conscious thoughts are English sentences in the form of sound data. However, conscious thoughts could be any five sense data, like sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. The text captions and visual images displayed on the screen are the robot's conscious thoughts. It gives the robot internal instructions to think and act. This video, entitled, Artificial Intelligence Plays Call of Duty, was published 3 years ago. This is the first time I'm explaining what is going on in the video and how the artificial intelligence is processing information. When the robot makes a decision like play Call of Duty, knowledge pours into primarily four containers: the task container, the rules container, the planning container, and the identity container. These containers manage recursive tasks. Here is the recursive task. The upper task is to protect the fort. And subtasks are navigation, shoot enemies and manage weapons. The text captions that pop up on the screen are the robot's conscious thoughts. These internal thoughts are only seen through the mind of the robot. The majority of conscious thoughts are in the form of sound data, via English sentences. However, conscious thoughts could be any five sense data, like sight, sound, taste, touch or smell. These activated thoughts does many things for the robot. It can generate common sense knowledge, do logical reasoning, manage recursive tasks, solve problems, analyze the environment, predict the future, and so on. Basically, the majority of activated thoughts are represented as sound data, and it is almost like someone is whispering English sentences into the robot's ears.
Attack chopper standing by.
In addition to the voices in the robot's mind, there is also a work area that can be used to do things like activate images and draw lines and arrows. For example, if the robot wanted to plot routes, a map in memory activates and lines and arrows are drawn to plot routes. He uses a specific type of strategy to kill multiple enemy soldiers. This includes analyzing the environment, determining threat priority, and making linear decisions. The robot knows he is playing a three-dimensional game. He is not only aware of the current viewing state, but also objects around him. He is aware of his 360-degree environment. The robot knows what objects are behind him. The voices in the robot's mind is kind of like a group debate. The robot asks himself a question, he answers the question, he gives facts, he recalls information, and so on. Thus, the decision-making is based on a debate in the robot's mind. He is constantly observing the environment and identifying objects. While navigating, the robot is aware of the 3D environment, and able to identify walkable areas and obstacles. He repeats this strategy throughout the entire game. He is repeating the same strategy to kill multiple enemies. Also, there are things like life meter and managing power-ups are constantly being reminded. If a player loses all life meter, then the player dies. So the robot is consciously aware of the life meter and is occasionally peeking at the life meter to make sure it is at acceptable levels. Throughout the game, the robot is constantly being reminded of the recursive tasks. The robot was taught by commanders of a plan in case enemies attack the fort. He is recalling this plan and following the instructions. The fort is protected in levels and soldiers have to move from one level to the next to defend it. The robot is using this plan to navigate and kill enemies.
Attack chopper available for tasking.
He repeats this strategy throughout the entire game. He is repeating the same strategy to kill multiple enemies.
Thresher awaiting orders.
In addition to navigation and shooting enemies, the robot is also managing weapons. Certain rules pop up in his mind, such as reload the gun after a few shots. Managing bullets for different weapons is also a complex task because it requires basic math, like multiplication and fractions. A part of his mind is keeping track of his current weapon, and what weapons he has in his bag. The game stats give detailed information about his weapons. However, the robot has to remember basic things, like what kind of weapons does he have, or how much bullets does each weapon contain. Knowledge about weapons is also important in the game. When using a shotgun, the gun has to be reloaded after every shot. For a military rifle, he has to reload the gun after 20 shots. The strategies the robot uses in this game come from both learned knowledge and through trial and error. 50% of strategies used in the game are learned from military books and the other 50% is learned through trial and error by playing first-person shooting games. While playing these games and through reinforcement learning, the robot discovers new strategies. Common sense knowledge activates in his mind. Facts, relevant data, object background, and common sense data activate in the robot's mind. Even things like rules pop up if they are relevant to the current situation.
The force is level! Hand on! Here they come, Mason!
God damn! Mayday! Mayday! Nathan, quiet!
Mason! Get it down! Let's crash!
He repeats this strategy throughout the entire game. He is repeating the same strategy to kill multiple enemies. In this scene, the robot is generating common sense knowledge. Facts and logical reasoning influence the way the robot makes decisions. Complex concepts like gravity and how that influences the character and its interactions are understood by the robot. The robot is also predicting the future, constantly, for specific objects. It might be predicting the future for 2 enemies or 4 enemies. Or it might be predicting the future for the character and 1 enemy. It might be predicting the future for projectiles or specific environments. If you want to build a real robot soldier that can do anything a human soldier can do, the robot needs all skills and knowledge from military school. The prerequisite to military school is a high school degree. I highly doubt that machine learning or deep reinforcement learning can acquire all skills and knowledge of a high school student. Humans do stupid things sometimes. Here, the robot makes a stupid decision and he pays for it. This artificial intelligence to play Call of Duty is universal, which basically means that it can play similar games. like Halo or Doom. The skills and knowledge to play this Call of Duty game can be used to play any first-person shooting game. Each first-person shooting game has slightly different rules and goals, but the robot can adapt and will generate optimal instructions to play each game.
Reloading, give me cover.
Here, the commander gives an order to the robot to take out the tanks. At this point, the robot aborts whatever he was doing earlier, and his current task is to destroy the tanks with a RPG gun. Instructions to use the RPG activates. He identifies 4 tanks and proceeds to come up with a plan to take them out. His plan is to shoot the tanks from right to left.
You're getting shot up! Reloading, cover me!
The robot knows this area is overrun by enemy forces and he has to take the next logical action, which is to go up to level 2 to fight enemy forces. The original video, without the commentaries, was published 3 years ago. In the description part of this page is a link to the original video. The human brain is a recording device that records sequence of data called pathways. Recursive tasks are stored as pathways in memory. Here is one example of a sandwich pathway. The upper task is to make a sandwich and the subtasks are the linear steps. The key to doing recursive tasks is the robot is remembering and recalling upper tasks. The human brain is very primitive and can only remember a limited amount of recursive tasks. Let's say that the robot is working in a restaurant and he is making a sandwich. During the making of the sandwich, the robot accidentally drops the lettuce on the ground. This interruption causes the robot to add 2 additional subtasks, which is navigate to the sink and wash lettuce. After completing task 6 and task 7, he goes back to what he was doing earlier, which is step 3. Remembering upper tasks and understanding the linear steps to a human task is the key to doing recursive tasks. And the only way to learn this behavior is to go to school and learn information from teachers and books. Teachers in school teach the robot how to do multiple simultaneous tasks. Here is a pathway to do 2 tasks at the same time. The robot is switching from task 1 to task 2 until both tasks are completed. The robot can only focus on one task at a time. But he was taught to do task 1, stop, do task 2, stop, continue task 1, stop, continue task 2, and so on. He repeats this until both tasks are completed. As stated before, teachers in school teach the robot to do multiple tasks. Doing simultaneous multiple tasks. Doing simultaneous multiple tasks. Let's say that the robot was playing Gradius for the Nintendo. He is currently doing 3 simultaneous tasks, which is to navigate around obstacles, kill enemies, and collect power-ups. The red enemy contains the power-up, the green areas are obstacles. And these are the enemies. The robot will use linear logic to determine what actions to take based on 3 tasks. The decision he makes will fulfill all 3 tasks. He is able to safely navigate around obstacles, he is able to collect the power-up, and he is able to kill all 2 enemies. The key to doing simultaneous multiple tasks is to analyze the game, generate logical reasoning, and make decisions based on all three tasks. So, it is logical reasoning that allows the robot to do multi-layered tasks. This skill is also learned from teachers in school and through countless years of practice. The human brain is a recording device that records movie sequences called pathways. These pathways store the robot's 5 senses and thoughts from the point of view of the robot. These pathways also store things like hidden data and pattern objects. As the robot learns how to solve the ABC block problem from teachers, decision trees are created in memory. These pathways are structured hierarchically and self-organize in memory, creating a fuzzy range of itself. Important objects float to the top and minor objects float to the bottom. The important objects are usually English instructions or important events stored in pathways. The minor objects are forgotten, while the important objects are strengthened. Because of English sentences stored in the pathways, the decision trees to solve the ABC block problem will turn into computer programs. This pathway is called a universal pathway to solve the ABC block problem. This means the robot can solve the ABC block problem under any given situation. It doesn't matter where the robot is located or how the blocks are stacked or what the blocks look like. The robot is able to solve the ABC block problem under any given situation.